Maybe he wants Mike Pearson on this. Mike Pearson came up. Pearson came up to me and said the two of us are here. I don't know. Maybe it's not at the same time.
This is good too?
This is two. All right, Tyree, when we start in the C position, after you reported that foul, you want to start at the free throw line extended. You look like you were a little bit high there. I know on this court the lines might be a little bit difficult to see, but whenever you're in the C position, your starting point is the free throw line extended, and then we'll move from there.
We're going to email them the film. Just at least just once at the beginning.
All right, on this court we have Tyree Brickus, Mike Carey, and Joe Clark.
Yeah, Mike. So where am I supposed to be?
It's you?
He told me.
Okay, good eye contact on that double whistle, guys. Whenever we have a one-on-one situation like that, in transition, we have contact at the rim. It's a prime example of a play that we could have a double whistle. It's important that one guy doesn't signal charge and one guy doesn't signal block. So good job on that. I think we got the play right also. Okay, Mike, you got the play right. When you blow your whistle, though, let's try to slow down. And I'm saying this from experience. I have a tendency when I blow my whistle to get really anxious and make a signal quick. That's an obvious call, so just fist. You can use your voice and say hand check. You know, PIAA, they want a preliminary signal, so if you want to do a preliminary, you can do a hand check signal. Point to the inbound spot so your partner who's coming over to administer the inbounds knows where the ball is being put in play. If your partner's doing his job, he probably isn't looking at the ball and doesn't know where the ball is going to be put in play. So it's important that you point to a spot on the court. And then do your jog to the table and go through your report. Good way to recognize the timeout right away. Kyrie was in a good spot where the ball was. He wasn't behind it. He had an open look to see between the dribbler and the defender. Joe, one whistle, point, color once. That was a pretty clear out of bounds call. You don't have to oversell that one. Let's save those for really, really tough out of bounds plays. That one, I think that one was pretty obvious. Thinking the same thing. I got one in my car.
I'm gonna go out and get it.
Also, Mike, on that last out of bounds play, you were administering subs. Don't be afraid to blow your whistle and use your voice and control that situation. In a very, very loud gym, it's important that you communicate to your partners and to everybody that we have subs coming. And I know in that case, it looked like there were multiple players from both teams, so it may be obvious. But just get in the habit of putting one hand up, not two. One hand looks more controlled than two. Take yourself out of position. Make sure you can see the players crossing in front of you or behind you, so you don't miss anything when they're going to their benches. Okay, Joe. Step down, not step in. So when your free throw line extended on the foul shot, and the second shot goes up or the first of a one-on-one, you put your hand up to chop when you're in C, step down toward the end line. Don't step in toward the players. Because when you step in toward the players, you're narrowing your view. When you step down, you're still maintaining a wider view.
Good baseline work on rotation.
Okay, point to a spot. Good job. Good job. Just remember, this goes for everyone. When we have whistles, we want our mechanics to be sharp. We want them not to be quick. It's important that we have a cadence with our mechanics. By the time coaches or players or fans look at you after you blow your whistle, you don't want to be through your signal. Good layoff. Kyrie, be careful with making that signal for a block shot, because there's some phenomenon in officiating there where one partner makes that signal, it causes someone else in the court to blow their whistle. I don't know what it is, but it seems to happen to me all the time. So I would stay away from that signal. As a crew, though, that was a good layoff in my opinion. Those were clean block shots. Good block. Let's make sure we make eye contact with each other before we put the ball in play. All right. Joe, I wouldn't get so close to the table when I report. So jog out, but the closer you get to the table, the lower your voice is going to get. You know, we want to project during our reports. So remember where the reporting box is. Maybe for the purpose of camp, try to get a little bit further away from the table and use your voice so the observers can see you project. Mike, I don't know why you have your hand up right now. Chopping the clock in 3-man is the center's responsibility. If you're putting your hand up because you have a sub, just wait until the ball goes in and then just blow your whistle and then put your hand up. You don't need to hold it up during the free throw. Okay, we had a rotation. All right, so Joe, when we're in the lead and we're gonna rotate, let's make sure we're going from A to B to C. It looks like on that last rotation you might be going Kyrie, remember, when you're seeing the ball comes to you there, that's your play, so you have to start refereeing it. One way to signal to your partners, for example, if a guard dribbles over from the trail side to you, one way to let your partner know that you're accepting the play is to turn your shoulders to it. 101. Yeah, we have to do a good job communicating here. Identify the shooter right away. I know we don't have numbers on the jerseys, but Joe, when you have that, we've already shot 101 down here once. So when you have that foul, right away you have to be like, 10 white's my shooter. I know there's no number here, but whatever the case is, 10 white's my shooter, 101. So there's no question about it. We have to get that right away because we've already shot 101 down here. You understand what Jimmy Haney was saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If a player happens to stand in front of you, just go around.
Okay.
All right, this goes for everybody. When you're in the C position and a made basket happens, there's one of two things that can occur. One is we have a press, and if we have a press, we're going to need the C to stay in the backcourt to help the new trail. The second thing that can happen is the ball can be inbounded and we can have just regular offense where the ball is brought up into the front court. So the point I'm making is when a shot goes up and it goes in and you're in the C position, don't just automatically turn and run. Stay foul line extended, pause, decide whether or not there's going to be defensive pressure in the backcourt, and if there isn't, then you can turn and run up court. If there is defensive pressure, then you're already in position, you stay there and help the new trail. Otherwise, you start running up court, and then you realize there's defensive pressure and you have to turn back around. Great call. Good call, Joe. Definitely an offensive foul. So you guys filled in appropriately. So good job. In a high school mechanics, after Joe makes that offensive foul report, he goes back and administers that throw in because the ball is being inbounded table side. It's a little thing, just a little thing to keep in mind. Okay, don't forget to stay with the shooter on those. I I know it's our natural instinct when a shot goes up to turn our head toward the basket. Maybe look for rebounding fouls. That's a good example of where you want to stay with the shooter. I'm not saying he was fouled. I'm not saying he wasn't fouled. Just it's never good when there's two bodies on the floor and we're not sure how it happened. Good hustle getting back, Joe. In those plays when we're going to have a contested shot at the rim, our eyes need to be ready for basket interference and goaltending. We didn't have it on that play, but hustling down court and getting yourself in position, if we did have goaltending or BI on that play, that would have been your call. You want to be at the 28-foot mark. So I know there isn't a 28-foot mark here, but stand here. And then when the shot goes up, then you're going to step down.
All right, now I'm doing.
No, he's got the clock, so you don't have to do anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So step down. Now go.
Testing. Testing. Can you hear me now? Okay. For the crew up top, we got Dominic, Ed, and
Working on not staying flat-footed
okay.
and sitting back.
Come on down with me. Right about here. All right, come on out. Come on out. All right, Dominic, just a quick thing that just put in your pocket, you know, as we move forward. Once that ball goes into the paint, you got all kinds of bodies like that. Keep your eyes on the players and don't worry about the feet as much. I'm not saying that wasn't a travel. I'm just saying that that's the type of play that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows because your job at that point on the floor is to make sure you know what's going on with the defender and making sure he is legal or not legal. Good job, Nick. All right, Nick, come on down low with me. Come on down low. Good, good, perfect.
It's got a bounce over there.
Make it look good. All right, you're gonna come down to center position and send Nick over to the strong side on lead. Ed, just give him a quick answer. It's a camp game, blow the whistle, call it out of bounds. He's gonna bitch anyway. Just keep that game moving. good, Nick. All right. So what happens on that play is you let it start, develop, finish. Once that play goes up, you're going to have a slower whistle. The ball is blocked, but then once the kid comes down with it, he's no longer legal, and it is a jump ball. It's better to be slow with that, and I don't care what any coach says. You know, if you come out with that right away and it ends up being a foul, you're in trouble. All right, guys, the next few plays, I'm going to take a look at positioning on the floor. I'm going to do my best to spend a couple of minutes with each of you at the different positions. Keep in mind, you know, when we set up in the slot or the center position, our Cadillac spot is the free throw line extended with your back parallel to the sideline, okay? Once you get there, that doesn't mean that's where you referee from, that's where you start. All right, so if the ball goes low, you can take a step high and out onto the court if you need to see down and through the play. Our primary goal at all three positions on the floor is to create and maintain an open angle. All right, what that basically means is that you want to be able to referee through your primary matchup. All right, so if you can see through the defender and the offensive player, then you have a pretty good shot at seeing if the defender is doing anything wrong. All right, Dominic, like I said, the last play, I want you to get to your startup position. All right. So if you looked at the last clip, what you ended up refereeing the one-on-one matchup a step over half court. All right. So what ends up happening when you do that is that you and Ed are both refereeing that primary matchup, and you're leaving the other 8 players to Nick. Okay. So if I can get you to your startup spot, you can help Nick with the other 8, and you can leave the 2 to Eddie. All right, because we may not all know the 3-man system, but we're all going to be halfway decent at refereeing a one-on-one matchup. Perfect. Good call, Eddie. All right, Dominic, quick thing there. I know you want to get the ball in play. Don't turn your back to the players. Especially, you know, we're in a second half of a 4-point game. You don't want to get you don't want to have anybody give somebody a flipper to the chops and you can't see it because you're hustling to get the ball in play. All right, Nick, I'm going to talk about trail the next play, and I'm looking at this right now with the score 27-23. You got to the 28-foot mark in the front court, which is perfect. But then you got cement shoes, then you just stood there. Keep moving around. Basketball is a fluid game. That doesn't mean that you stand still and referee from one spot the entire time, okay? All right, Nick, let's talk a little bit more about the lead. Nice job inbounding the ball. A couple of fundamentals to keep in mind when you have a press in the backcourt. Always stay, 2 to 3 strides over from the dribbler, either on the right or the left-hand side, depending on which side of the floor we're coming up, and 2 to 3 strides behind him. Okay, that will put you in a better position in case there's a quick steal or the offensive kid bobbles the ball. That way you don't have to turn your head and referee backwards, okay? So whenever the ball is coming up in the front court and you're at trail, you do not want to be ahead of the ball ever. I think Jason was just telling you this. This is kind of what I was saying to Nick. Ed, whenever you inbound, just always, 2 to 3 behind and 2 to 3 over from the dribbler. So here's our example. If you get too far ahead of yourself, then you end up having to turn your back and referee backwards on this play. It's okay, these kids are always going to be faster than us. What's that?
Where do I go on this?
You're going to be slot, so you can come down here? Yeah. I usually actually go a pinch higher than the free throw line, just on foul shots. All right, now your responsibility are those opposite 3 guys, making sure they don't violate, and these 3 guys, after the ball's been released, make sure they don't foul. Okay? So you actually kind of have to switch. Nick, again, don't be afraid to move, all right? So, once that ball goes into the post, we're not rock solid, so. You're a pretty athletic guy. You can kind of move up and down the court. Looks like we kind of bungled the rotation there, and that's okay. The only people that know that is us. Don't worry about it. Dominic in lead. Once this ball comes over to my side here on the strong side of the floor where I'm talking, I need you to pinch the paint and get to the free throw lane line extended. And then if the ball ends up swinging over here, then you can decide to move over, and then you'll already be 3 steps closer to where you need to be. All right, just as a general rule of thumb, try to mirror the ball when you're in the lead, okay? And what I mean when I say that is between the lane line extended and a step in between the 3-point line, you can go back and forth with the ball. That doesn't mean you're staring at the ball. That just means that you're keeping as many of the players in front of you than behind you, right? Because once the players get behind your shoulders, you have really almost no chance at taking a look to see whatever that they're going to do. See, I like that position at the lead. Once the ball goes wide, you had no problem going wide. But once that ball dribbles into the paint, you need to take a couple of steps into the paint and make sure you're following that play in. There's a couple things that's going to do. A, it's probably going to put you in a better position to see through the defender. B, if you have to make a call on the play to the basket, you're more believable. I don't know if you're listening to me or not, but very good job on that. You ended up pinching the paint, and that way you can actually end up seeing the hit on the outside arm as that play goes to the basket. Nick, I actually, on that play, if you have rewind or any ability to go back and take a look at it, I would like you to blow on this from the center position. If you have a double, completely fine with it, but that play occurs on your side of the basket and it's a one-on-one matchup. Those are the plays that by the end of this weekend I'd like to see you guys blowing on. I'm on mic, but I'll catch up with you. Good. Do not leave the players, guys. All right, this is a good example of the game starting to get physical on the perimeter, and as a crew, we need to recognize it. Okay, I'm not saying we're making up fouls, but it's okay to tighten up a little bit. But on a play like that, where you have bodies on the ground, do not leave. And you're in center position on that last shot. I'd like to see you go a little bit lower. All right, so you kind of are working this. You're actually working the center right now, more from the 28-foot mark than you are the free throw line extended. Good patient whistle, Nick and Dominic. All right, that's not a play that we want at this point in the game. Good clean block. I'd rather you be slow than fast on that. Once that play starts to go that far away from you at the trail, and you can feel yourself going, wow, I'm kind of far from the play. I don't care where you are. Just take a couple steps down. Get yourself involved in it. You know what? Get out here. I'm actually I know I told you this. This might be better. This may give you a better shot. Yeah.
When he goes to shoot.
I mean, we have these guideline spots, but they're not end-all be-all. Okay? Just remember that. Right around the corner. Yeah, go out that way and into the weight room. Yeah, come on back, Nick. Come on back. Good, good. Go ahead out onto the floor. Take a step out. Perfect. Grab. Take foul. Good job. That's fine. I don't care. That double whistle's fine. All right? Come on out. Like right around here. This is the type of example where I'm saying if you feel too far, just stand here. Make your presence known. That's a perfect example. It's a good thing to recognize. Whenever you got a point guard who's getting that frustrated, you could have a lot of problems. So I know he made a pretty good play on the ball, but unfortunately he was out of bounds. Just don't take your eye off a player who's that frustrated. They could do something stupid. Good take foul right away. And you know, again, you got the ball slammed from the point guard, so you can just sense that he's frustrated. Nothing has risen to a level of, you know, technical foul or even talking to, but you just have to recognize when the players start to get frustrated like that. Again, good job with the take foul. Three seconds, 41-42. We got a ball game here, guys. First one out of the chute. All right, Dominic, I got something for you. It's a violation on a free throw with 23 seconds left in a one-point ball game, all right? That can't be the type of whistle where you just blow and expect everyone in the gym knows what you have. That type of play is going to need a little bit more sell, all right? And what I mean is you probably have to hit the whistle 7 or 8 times as loud as possible and come out very emphatically and say, no basket, no basket, one shot. So see, what ends up happening here is you kind of make that call like it's, you know, the easiest trip play or the easiest, you know, play to the basket that, you know, the grandmom in the 7th row can call. You know, but it wasn't. You know, it's a one-point ball game with 23 seconds left, and it's going to give the team who's up by 1 another free throw. So what ends up happening is Mike Brown from Garnet Valley is boiling on the sidelines now. Okay, so that's the type of thing that you have to know is going to drive a coach nuts. Got another take foul here, guys. All right, Eddie, you know, that's a play that we're, you know, unfortunately, you know, we are going to get beat on. But that doesn't mean that we're going to change our philosophy on plays to the basket. Al was saying, you know, earlier, be slow to process those plays to the basket. Even though we're not necessarily standing on the baseline like we normally are, still let that play go to the hoop before you make your decision. You pop that whistle a little bit early on what looks like marginal contact. All right, so Dominic, you also got to put this in your pocket. You had a shooting, or you had a lane violation earlier that kind of set Garnet Valley into the rafters, and then you had one that was